Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's masterclass hosted by AgileFever. So today's session is on Databricks for data science. We are glad to have you all here. We have Arihant with us today, who will be leading this session and sharing his expertise.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. A very good morning and good evening, depending on the time zone you are in. So, my name is Arihant, and I'll be taking the session today, this masterclass on Databricks. So, where we will be talking about, okay, let me share my screen. Uh, okay, so I'll share my screen. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the Databricks. Right, so we'll be talking about like what is Databricks, what is the need of Databricks, and then we'll be creating one ML model also here. Right, so we'll be creating one machine learning model end to end, right, and we are going to do the deployment also, right, based on the deployment, right. So we are going to create one API also, right, REST API we are going to create, so that if anyone else wants to use our model, right, he can start using our model and using that REST API, right. So we are going to create the UI part also, right. So how that application will look like to the end user. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss about in the today's session. Okay, so today's session is going to be totally hands-on experience. Okay, where we'll be taking one data set. So firstly we'll create the table for it, and then we'll train the model, right, do the data pre-processing, data cleaning and everything. Then we are going to test the accuracy, right. We'll do the ML flow also, right, ML flow for the experiments. It's all those things we'll discuss it, right. But firstly, let's talk about like what is Databricks, right. So when we talk about the Databricks, so Databricks is a cloud-based data platform. It's a cloud-based data platform. So when I say it's a cloud-based data platform, so what does that mean? So that means, so just like we have the AWS, we just like we have the GCP, right? So this is also cloud-based where multiple people in the team can collaborate and they can start working on it, right? So right? So if you work in a team in a corporate, so multiple people are working on the same project. Some people are working on the model building part, some people are working on the cleaning part, and so on. Okay. So here, that is what we call it as a collaborative workspace, right? So you can have the collaborative workspace. So that means you can have the uh, full security also, right? So that means if you want to do not show, if you do not want to show your work to the other people, right? So you can hide that also. You can have that kind of privacy also. And if you want to share your work with others, right? So you can easily share your work also, right? I can copy your work into my workspace. Okay. So here we have the Apache Spark also, right? Apache Spark is the core engine, right? So this is used for the fast processing. Okay, so although we generally create the machine learning models, right, we do the data cleaning using the pandas library, right? So pandas is a Python library which is used in the machine learning classes. But when we have the huge data, when we have the data in millions, right, so at that time the pandas library will become little slow. So that is where the Spark will come into the picture, right? So there we can use the PySpark, right? So there, instead of using the pandas, right, so we can use the PySpark, because with this the processing will become extremely fast. Okay, so this thing. Now in this, right, so we have the data lake also, right, for the warehousing part, right? So for storing, for querying the data, right? So here you can run the SQL queries also, because you need the space, right? So where you need to store the data, right? So here we'll be having that also. And here we'll be having the machine learning tools also, right? So machine learning tools in the sense, here you will be having the Jupyter notebooks also, right? Here you will be having the endpoints also, right? So Jupyter notebooks where you will be creating the model, right? So where you will be testing the models, right? Here you will be having the access of MLflow also, right? So MLflow is used for the experiment tracking. So if you have so many, if you are doing so many experiments, obviously you cannot track it in the Excel, right? So you have some automated systems, right? So for that, the MLflow tracking will be there, right? So using which you can do. Okay, so in short, right? So if I'll talk about this entire Databricks, so you can do the data engineering task also, right? You can create your own ETL pipeline, right? So where you can extract the data from the different platforms, you can do the transformation and you can do the this thing, right? So you can create the entire ETL pipeline, I can say here, right? So here you can do the data analysis also. So that means if you are a data analyst, so you can run the SQL queries, you can do the data cleaning, right? You can do the data exploration. So that means Databricks can be used by those people also who are in the data side. Okay. Now this can be used for the machine learning part also, right? Those who are the machine learning engineers, right? Those whose objective is to create the machine learning models, to deploy them, right? So for all those things also we can use this, right? Because here we'll be having the Python notebooks also, right? And here we will be having the access to the different MLflow experiments. Okay. So here you can do the deployments part also. Okay. So basically, uh, Databricks is very powerful tool, right? So which is used in many companies these days, because this is like a everything under the one roof. Okay, so everything can be done inside under one roof. So this is like that kind of platform where data engineer can also work on the same project on which the data analyst is working, right? And similarly, ML engineer or the data scientist can work on the same project in which these people are working, right? So these four people can work on the same shared project, right? They will be having the access of the cloud also, they'll be having the access of the data also, they'll be having the access for the deployment also, everything under the one roof. Okay, so this is what do we mean by this thing. Okay, so now uh, so just give me a second. Okay, so now what we are going to do, right? So we are going to create one project. Okay, and I'll be explaining you step by step, right? So what we have done and how we are going to do that. Okay, so starting from the profile creation till the end part. Okay, so just give me a second, I'll just quickly share my screen again. Okay, so what we are going to do, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to take one data set, right, in CSV, right? So we are going to take one data set in CSV. Okay, so we are going to take small data set only, right, which will be having like 1,000, 1,500 rows, right? Because here our objective is to create the end-to-end pipeline. Okay? So if you are able to understand this, then you can easily create it on the 1 million rows, 10 million rows also. Now what we will do, right? Firstly, we will import it into our Databricks, right? Firstly, we are going to import into the Databricks. Now based on that, then we are going to create one table, right? In our Databricks, we are going to create the table so that if I want to do some analysis on that, if I want to run the SQL queries on that, right, I can start running the SQL queries also in that, right? So based on that CSV, I can permanently store into my table. Okay, so that is the next thing which we are going to do. Then we are going to import it into the notebook, right? So then we are going to create the Jupyter notebook. Okay, so Jupyter notebook will be used for creating the machine learning models. Okay, so here we will be creating the machine learning model. So here, firstly, we will be using the PySpark, right, to import the table into the current session. And then we are going to convert it into the pandas, right? Because the machine learning, right, training part, right? So training part happens in the pandas part. Okay, so then we will be doing the model training. Then we will be doing the model training. Okay, so after doing the model training, what we are going to do, we are going to do the experiments also, right? Because we do not know, right? Those who are in the machine learning domain, they might be knowing that we have to do a lot of experiments, right? So while finalizing any model, so here itself we'll do a lot of experiments also. Okay, and manually we are not going to track it, right? Everything will be automated, right? Automatically it will be doing the experiment tracking. And then in the ML flow, we will check like which is the best one, right? Which is the best one, right? We will be, I mean, in the code, right? We will be writing this thing that choose the best one, but in the ML flow, we can compare their performances manually also. Okay, so that is also we can do over there. Okay, so that is the next thing which we will do. After that, whichever is the best model, then we are going to register that model, right? Then we are going to register that model because I'll be having 10 different models, right, on which we have done the experiments. So which one is going to finalize, right? So we are going to register that model. So once we will register that model, right, after that, what we will do, we will create a endpoint for it. We will create an endpoint for it, right? Because model to we have finalized, right? We have created the model, we have finalized the model, but we have to create a REST API also for that, so that other people can also start using it, right? If I want to use it in the AWS, or if I want to use it in the some other platform, right? So I can simply start using the endpoint for it. So we'll be creating endpoint for it. So now using this endpoint, so this will create a API for me, right? REST API for me. Now I will be calling this API in our Python code, right? Maybe in the VS code, we will be calling this REST API, right, to create the UI part, right? Because ultimately I need the UI part also, right? So where the end user can start using it. So we'll be creating that UI part, and that UI part will be based on the Streamlit. Using the Streamlit, we are going to create that UI part. And then a UI will get open, and there we can do the testing. There we can do the testing. Okay, so these are the steps we are going to follow in our end-to-end project, right? So this will create your end-to-end project. Okay, I'll repeat what are the steps we are going to do. We have one CSV file, and this is a regression problem. This is a regression problem, right? So where we are going to predict the house price, right? House price prediction. Okay, so if you are able to achieve this task, then you can create any project, whether it's a classification or regression, and whether it is having 1 million rows or 9 million rows. Okay, so these are the steps we are going to follow. So what we are going to follow, so firstly, we are going to take the CSV file. We are going to import it into the Databricks. Based on that, we are going to create a table, right? So that in the future also, if I want to run the SQL queries on that, I can start working on it. Then once the table is created, that means now we have the data source available, right? Now I can call this database in our data source in our Jupyter notebook, right? So we'll be creating one Jupyter notebook where I will be using the PySpark to call that data set, because this is quite fast. And then we'll be doing the data cleaning. After doing the data cleaning, then we'll be doing the model training, right? We'll be using different models, right? Like linear regression, random forest, decision tree on different experiments, right? So based on the experiments, we will go to the MLflow and we will choose like which is the best model. Now, whichever will be the best model, we will be registering that model. And once that model will be registered, right, then we'll be, once this model is registered, then we'll be creating the endpoint URL for it, right? So what is endpoint URL? Basically a REST API, right? I can share that link with anyone and they can use it in their project. Okay, because whatever the project I have finalized here, right? So till here our model building and project finalization is done. So whatever we are doing at this point, right? So this is more of a deployment part, right? So ML ops part. So we'll be creating a REST API for that, right? And based on that, then we'll be creating the VS code, right? Because I need to create a UI also. So with this, we'll be creating the UI, and then we are going to do the testing part. Okay. So this is our end-to-end flow, which we are going to follow. Okay. So let's try it out. All right. So let's try it out. Okay. So what we are going to do, right? So I'll take the data set first. Okay. So this is the data set we have, right? So this is the data set we have, in which we have the square feet, right? What is the square feet of the house, right? Number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, right? Year built, in which year it was built, and the price. Okay. So this is the target variable, and these are the independent variables, right? So I have to create an application where based on these independent variables, I can predict the house price. Okay. So it's a regression based problem. Now, what is the thing which we have to do? Okay. So the first thing is that what you have to do, right? So you have to create the Databricks account. Now, when we talk about the Databricks account, now Databricks is a paid application, right? So Databricks is a paid application, right? But for the learners, right? So they have created one community edition also. Community edition. right? So that means you can create your account here, right, without giving any credit card details or without paying any subscription, right? So you can create your account and you can start using it. Okay, so obviously you will not be able to create more clusters on it, right? So you can create only a single cluster, and you cannot have the different servers also. It will be a serverless thing. Okay, so and you cannot work on a huge data set, right? So because this is only for the experiments purposes and for the learning purposes, right? So you cannot make the best use of the Databricks by the community edition, but you can create the simple projects with this. Okay, and on small data sets. Okay, so that is what we are going to follow here. So what you can do, you can create the account here on the Databricks community edition. Okay, so Databricks, right? So community edition. So when you see this Databricks community edition, this kind of link will get open, right? So community.cloud.databricks.com. Okay, so when you click on this, right, so it will ask you some basic details, right? So your email ID or how do you want to log in? So in this way, right? So whether you want to log in through the Google or with the Microsoft, right? So you can click on the Google, right? So I already have created my account, right? And this is how the homepage will look like, right? So this is how your homepage will look like once you will open it, once you will create it. Now on the left hand side, these are the different things which you are seeing, right? So home, workspace, recent, catalog, jobs and pipelines, compute, and so on, right? So here you'll be seeing all the SQL related tasks, right? You can create the, you can use the SQL editor, you can run the queries inside it, you can create the dashboards also, right? So you can create the dashboards also in this way here. Okay, so Genie is a recently created this thing, right? So which is like in the simple NLP, you can start asking the questions from them. Okay, so then you will be having the data engineering task also you can do, right? So you can run ingestion, right? So here you will see that you can create the pipelines, right? Ingestion pipeline, ETL pipeline, jobs you can create. And here is our AI/ML related task, right? So where you can do the experiments tracking, you can do the feature store, different models, serving, and so on. Okay, so this is how your homepage will look like. And this is exactly the same which you will see in the paid software also, right? It's not like in the paid you will see something else. Here also you'll be having the similar thing. Now here you will see the compute, right? So when you will see the compute, right? So as of now, this is disabled, create SQL workspace, right? The reason is simple because in the free version, you cannot create your warehouse, SQL warehouse, right? So you can work only on the serverless starter warehouse, right? So this is the limitation we have in the free software. Okay, now when you click on the workspace on the top left corner, right? So here you will see that these are the different options, right? So in your case, you will not see these files, right? So these are the files which I have created. Okay, but in your case, you will see these different files, right? So home, right? Shared with me, workspace, favorites, and trash. So what you can do, you can click on the users, right? So when you click on the users, this is the email ID, right? So in your case, you will see your email ID. Okay, and here you can create, when you click on this, right? So here you will see different things, right? So what do you want to create? You want to create the folder, notebook, file, or what you want to create. Okay, so let's suppose I want to create the file, right? So Jupyter notebook, right? So in this way, the notebook will be created, right? So in this way, the notebook will be created. Now, in this, right, so I have already written the code because if I'll start writing the code here and if I'll start executing it, so this runs a little slow because we are working on the serverless one. So it runs a little slow. Even running a single query will take like 2 minutes, right? And for deployment, it will take like 30-40 minutes. So I already have created the code. So I'll just show you like how we can create it, right? So that you can also create it after the session. Now, the first thing is that I need the data, right? The first thing is that I need the data for it. Okay, so what you will do, right? So click here, right? And here you will see the import, right? So when you click on the import, right? So in this way, you can import the CSV file, right? So you can import the CSV file over here. So, but I need to create a table for it, right? So I'm not going to work on the CSV, but I'm going to create the table for it. So here you will see the catalog. So when you click on the catalog, right? So here you will see my organization. Inside the my organization, you can go to the workspace. Inside the workspace, you will see the default. Inside the default, you will see the tables, right? And here you can click on create and create a table, right? So when you click on the table, when you create the table here, right, so the housing price table will get created, right? So in this way, right? So this is how your housing price, right, data will look like. Okay, so this is how your data set will look like, right? So these are the details which you will see, right? So square feet, number of bedrooms, right, bathroom, and so on. Now once you will create this, right, so once you will create this, right, now you have the data inside the database. Now after that, what you will do, now I have to call this data into our Jupyter notebook, right? So then you will go to the workspace, and inside the workspace, the file which we created here, right? So that data set location we are giving here, right? In the workspace, it was in the default, if you remember, right? I'll show you also, right? So in the catalog, right? So you have the workspace, right? In the workspace, you have the default. In the default, you have the table, right? So this one, right? So we are taking basically this location. So when you take, so from here, you can copy it, right? So see workspace dot default dot housing data set, right? So that location you are giving here. So using the Spark dot table, you are creating a data frame. Right now, see guys, there are two types of data frames we have. One are the Spark data frame and one is the Pandas data frame. So now there are two types of frames, right? One is the Spark data frame. One is the Pandas data frame. Right, so Spark data frame are created when you are using the PySpark, right? And Pandas is simple, which you use in the machine learning part. Okay. So the benefit is that if you are using the Spark data frame, here the calculations are very fast, right? So it is very quick. So that is why what we are doing, Spark.table, right? We are creating the Spark data frame, and this is how it will look like, right? So the data set which I was having in the Excel format, so I have imported it here, and I have stored it into the catalog also in the folder. Okay. So when you click on the run, right, it will start running it, right? See, it will start running it. Okay. Now what we are doing the two pandas, right? So then we are converting it into the pandas, right? So that we can start building the model, right? So that we can start doing the experiments with it. So this is how you convert the Spark data frame into the pandas data frame, right? So when you are going to run this is how it will run, like a df.head. Okay, now see, this is a problem, right? So it takes little longer time. That's why I already have prepared it so that I can simply show you. Okay, so it will take like 2-3 minutes. Let it run. Okay, so describe, right? So describe will tell me like basic statistics. Okay, so square feet, bedrooms, right? Bathrooms, right? So what is the count, mean, standard deviation, right? So those who are working in the machine learning side, they might be very well aware about these things, right? So these are called as the data exploration part, EDA part. So then we are checking if we have any null values or not, right? So df dot is null sum. So we do not have any null value. Now here what we are doing, we are dividing the data into the training and testing. Okay. So generally we divide the data into X and Y first. So here we are dividing the data into X and Y. X means all the independent variables, Y is the target variable. And here we are dividing the data into 80:20% ratio. Right, in the 80:20% ratio, we are dividing the data. Okay, now here what is happening, right? So if you will see here, right, we are doing the experiment tracking, right? So in this entire code, now see, we have divided the data into training and testing. Now we have to train the model. Now for the training the model, I do not know which model will perform good, whether the linear regression will perform good, whether the random forest will perform good, whether the decision tree regressor will perform good. I do not know, right? And I do not know that whether I should give 10 estimators in the random forest, whether I should give 50 estimators, right? Whether I should give 5 depth of the decision tree, right? So in the same way, I can keep on giving more experiments, right? I do not know which one will perform good. So what we are saying, we are creating a list experiments, right? So in which we are saying, use the linear regression with the default parameters and give the name as linear regression. Use the random forest where you are keeping the parameter n underscore estimator is equal to 10, right? So random forest is a machine learning algorithm, right? So where n underscore estimators tell like how many decision trees I want to take. Okay, so we are giving the name of that as random forest 10 because 10 estimators, right? So you can give your own name. Okay. Now, Now we are initializing some variables, right? So best R square, right? As of now, we are saying that the best R square value is -1. -1 in the sense like worst one. Okay. So then we are saying best model, none, right? So we are creating a three variables with null value, and one is the best R square value, which is -1. Okay. So now whichever will be the best model out of these four, right? So that will get stored into these four variables. Okay. Now we are going to use the for loop, right? So we are using the for loop where MLflow.start run, right? So we are doing the dot fit, then dot predict on the training also and on the testing also. Then we are checking the metrics, right? On the training also and on the testing also, we are checking the R square value. On the training and testing, we are checking the MSC values also, right? Signature, right? So signature is something which is used for the MLflow part, right? So signature basically tells me that what type of input I am expecting and what kind of output we are going to give, right? So we are saying in the input, we are going to expect the data set like xtrain, right? Where you will be having only the four independent variables, and output will be something like this, okay? And then the log params, right? So again, this is related to the ML flow, right? In the ML ops, those who are aware about the ML ops, they might be aware about this thing. So where we are tracking the log params, okay? What are the log params we are tracking? But what are the metrics we are tracking? Training R square, testing R square, train RMSE, test RMSE, right? So four parameters we are tracking, right? So whichever model out of those four will be having the best four parameters, these parameters, that will be the final model, right? Then we are logging the model with that signature. And here we are checking, right, that which model is best, right? Here we are tracking the best model. Okay. And based on that, we are then printing the model. So what we got to know, right? So these logs will start generating, right? So it will take like 5-7 minutes to run this particular step, right? Where it will do all the experiments. At 5 to 10 minutes it will take. So once you will run this entire thing, right? So at the end, it will print this thing that based on the data set what we have provided, right? So this linear regression is the best model where the R square value is 0.57 and the run ID is this. So what is run ID? Run ID is generated for each experiment, right? So if I'm running 10 different experiments, so for each experiment, a unique run ID gets generated. Okay, so this is a ML ops concept in the ML flow. Okay, so for example, here we have ran 4 different experiments, right? So 4 unique run IDs will get generated, right? So those will be the unique identifier, right? So this is what we are getting. Okay, now we are printing that what is the best model, and then we are dumping that model, right? So we have to store that model also, right? So what we are saying, that store that model as a PKL file. Now if I want to share this model to anyone, I can share it over the email, over the ping, right? So whatever I want to share, but that is not the industry approach, right? That is not the standard approach. What we have to do for this model, we have to create the REST API, right? So that the other UI developers can use that API to create the UI part. Okay. Okay. Now, if I want to test this model, right? So before deployment, if I want to test this model, right? So I can test this model also, right? So import joblib, right? We are loading the model joblib.load, right? So this model which we have just created here, we are just importing this model, and we are giving the sample values, right? That if square feet is 2000, right? So this was the data set, right? Square feet, bedrooms, bathroom, and year built, right? So if I'm passing these values, prediction is coming out to be this, right? So that means our model is working fine. Okay. Now, what we have done till now, all right? So what we have done till now, so based on these steps, what we were discussing, right? So we have, right? We have done this part also, imported the CSV part, right? We have created a data frame also, right? Or you can say the created the table also, right? So we have created the PySpark, we have done the pandas also, we have done the model training also. Okay. Now experiments also we have created, but let's see where exactly those experiments are getting stored. Now on the left hand side itself, right, in the AIML, if you will see here at the bottom, you will see the experiments tab, right? So when you click on this experiments, right, so this was the notebook on which we were working, right? Model training V1. So when you click on this, right, so here you will see the different experiments, right? So like decision tree, right? So I was running this program 1 hour back only, right? So decision tree 5, right? So which was like one model which we were trying, right? Random forest 50, random forest 10, linear regression, right? So these were the four models which we tried, right? And all these four models are coming, right? Now, if I want to compare that which one is the best, which one is the best if I want to compare it, what I can do, I can select this one, this one, this one, and this one. Although we already have seen in the code that linear regression was the best model, but how can I double sure, right? So select all these models and click on the compare, right? So when you click on the compare, right? So here you will see all those run IDs are coming. See, I was telling you know that for each run you will be having a unique ID. So for all these models, these are the unique IDs, right? So what was the start time, end time, this one, right? So decision tree 5, right? Random forest 50, random forest and linear regression. Okay, here we have those parameters also, right? That for decision tree 5, we were taking 5 maximum depth. For random forest 50, we are taking 50 n underscore estimators, right? So easily you can see it here. And you can see their performances also, right? So our test R square, test RMSC, train R square, train RMSC. So clearly it is visible from this, right? So that this one is the best model, right? So if you will see here, linear regression, right? So in the linear regression, we are getting 57% accuracy, right? So here we are getting 47, 46, 41, and this one, right? So this is the best model. And other thing is, it is not getting overfitted also, right? So if you will see, this is getting overfitted, right? In the training, it is very high, and the testing, it is very low. Very high, very low, right? Clear case of overfitting. So here the overfitting is also not happening. So that means my linear regression is best. And my that one is also saying that this is best, right? So in this way, if I would have done 4 experiments, we have done 4 experiments, so 4 rows are getting created, 4 columns are getting created. If I would have 10 experiments, so I will see all the 10 experiments here. Okay. So that is how you see this thing, right? So this is how you do the experiment tracking. Now, experiment tracking is also done. Now, next what? Now, after the experiment tracking, now we have finalized that yes, I have to finalize the linear regression model, right? I have to use the linear regression model. So what I'll do, I'll go to the models now. See, earlier I was in the experiments. Now I'll go to the models, right? So when you go to the models, right? So here you will see this house price model, right? So other models are the GNA related models, right? So forget about them. But here you will see the price model, right? So when you click on this, right? So what you have to do, you have to register this model, right? So as of now, it is written here, serve this model, right? So, but in your case, right? So once we'll do it for the first time, here you will see register this model, right? Register this model in the sense, I want to take this model to the production. Okay, so you can click on the register this model. It will take like 5-7 minutes to register it, right? So you just need to click on that button. Now, once this is done, right? So that means version 1 is created, right? So automatically you will start seeing this kind of page. Now, after that, what we have to create? We have to create the REST API for this. For creating the REST API, what we will do? Serving, right? So here you will see serving. So click on the serving, right? And here you will see create serving endpoint, right? So in this, why it is coming by default? Because I already have created it, right? But in your case, what you have to do? Click on the create serving endpoint. And here you have to give those details, right? So here you will be giving like, what is the model name? What is the model you have created, right? So that you will get from the models. Okay, so basically the location of the model where that model is stored, right? So that location, and this will be your this will be your this API which will be generated, right? And this one, and once you will start giving the name here of that model, right? So this entire will become your link, right? Which you are going to share, right? Which you are going to share with the UI team, right? So based on that, the UI team will be calling your model. Okay, so this is how we will be creating it. Okay. So then entity, right? So entity in the sense whether you're using the GenA models or which model. In our case, we are using our model, my model, right? So here you can use this house price model, right? So whichever the model, right? So click on confirm, right? After that, no need to do anything and click on create. So once you will create it, right? It will take like approximately 10 minutes for you. Okay. So once you will create it, right? So this will start appearing, right? So in this way, this page will start appearing, right? This is how it will look like. Okay, the link which I was telling you over there, right? So see, this is how the link will look like. Now this is your REST API, right? So which you are going to share with the UI team. Okay, so using this, basically my model will be called, right? So which my model? That linear regression model. Okay, so now what we are saying here, that we have created one model with this, right? And we have deployed it on the, created as an endpoint on the Databricks. Now I need to create a UI also. So for that, what we will do, right? We'll be opening the VS Code, right? So because for the UI, what we are going to do, we are going to follow the Streamlit app, right? We are going to create a Streamlit app. Now, in the Streamlit app, the first thing which we have to do is we have to create a virtual environment, right? It's a good practice to have a virtual environment. Then we are going to have the requirements.txt, right? In the requirements.txt, we are downloading the Streamlit because it is going to create the UI for me, joblib, scikit-learn, and the requests, right? So these are the things which we are going to pass, right? So then after that, we are going to do the pip install. Okay. Now we are going to create the app.py, right? So we are going to write this particular piece of code. Okay, so let's try to understand this particular piece of code. Import Streamlit as st, right? Import requests, right? URL in the sense that endpoint which we have created here. See this one, right? So you have to give that URL here and the token, right? So token will be unique for each ID, right? So for example, if you want to see your own token, right? And you can create it at free of cost, right? So click here, right? And go to the settings. When you go to the settings, right, here you have to go to the developer role. When you go to the developer, here you will see the access tokens, right? Set up a secure authentication to Databricks API using this, right? So this is like a authenticator that yes, no one else is using your model. You are the one who are going to use this model. Okay, so in the companies when you work, right, there you are working in the collaboration way. So you do not want that your model is being accessed by someone else. Okay, so this is like a secure token. So when you click on the manage, right, so here you can create this, right, generate new token, and it will create the new token for you. Okay, and while creating the token, make sure you save it somewhere, because once you have generated it, you cannot see that token again, right? For example, this is the token which I created 1 hour back. Now if I want to see this token, I cannot see this token. Okay, so if you see, I cannot see this token. Okay, so that token I have to give it here. Okay, so these are the things, right? So one is the authorization and one is the content type. Now, firstly, I'll show you the output, right? Firstly, I'll show you the output, then I'll go to the coding part. So I'll do streamlit run app.py. See, this is how the UI will look like, right? This is how your UI will look like to the end user. Obviously, this is not our job. Our job in the sense, as a data scientist, as an ML engineer, this is not our job to create the UI. This is role of a UI developer, right? Who will be using the different languages to create the UI, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, AJAX, right? Different languages, right? But as a data scientist, we can create a simple UI here to see how my application will look like to the end user, right? So here I can give the independent variables, right? So I was having these independent variables, right? So let's give these values, right? And click on the predict price, right? So when I'm clicking on the predict price, internally, what it is doing, it is calling that REST API, right? And it is calling that model, right? Which we have created. Okay, so let's wait, right? So it's still running on the top. If you will see, it is still running. Okay, by the time it is running, I'll quickly show you. So here what we are doing this thing, right? So st.title house price prediction app, right? So this is the title, house price prediction app. Then user input, right? So what the user is going to give, right? So it is going to give square feet, bedrooms, bathrooms, and year build. So we are taking 3 inputs from the user. Okay, so these are the default values, right? So 2000, this. Now if st.button predict price, right? So if this is, see, now we are getting the predicted value, right? So if st.button predict price, okay, so then take those things and put it as the columns, and based on that, this is my data. Now response is equal to request.post, right? URL, what is the URL? This URL, right? Headers is equal to headers, right? We are passing these as the headers where we have the token ID and the application JSON, right? And this one. So if response.status score is equal to this, right? So that means 200 is okay, right? So then give me the prediction, and prediction is coming from where, right? So this predicted value is coming from where? That is coming from that endpoint which we have uploaded, which we have created in the Databricks. Okay, and based on that, if it is not 200, then just print that it's a code. Just print the error code. Guys, is it making sense like what we have done here? How we have end to end deployed our created so we took the raw data in the Excel form, right? This was a simple Excel which we took. We imported it into our Databricks. We created a table out of it, right? So why we created a table? Because in the companies, sometimes you work on the Excels also, sometimes you work on the tables also, right? You should have the exposure of both, right? So that's why we have taken both. So we have taken the Excel also. Based on this Excel, we have created the table also. How we have imported into the Jupyter notebook, right? Using the PySpark, right? So here, right, in the in the workspace, right? So how we have created it, right? So how we have imported it, right? So how we have done the data cleaning, right? So how we have done the ML flow. Based on that ML flow, different experiments were getting generated, right? So these are the different experiments. Now based on those experiments, right, we have chosen that which was the best model, right? So these were the 4 different experiments which we did, right? So based on these 4 experiments, right, so what we got to know that maximum accuracy is in this one, right, which is like linear regression, right? So that means linear regression is the best model out of the decision tree 5, random forest, this one, right? So we got to know this. Okay, so when and it is also predicting the same thing, right? So that my linear regression is the best model. Okay, so once that is created, right, so then we are creating a serving, right? Firstly, we are going to the model, right? And here we are registering that model. Once the model is registered, right, then we are going to the serving. We are creating the endpoint, right? Why we are creating the endpoint? Because this URL will be the REST API URL which will be created. Okay, so once this will be created, then I can use it to create my UI part. Okay, so this is what we have done, guys. So that was the implementation part, right? So I have not done by myself here, right? So otherwise it will take like approximately 2 to 3 hours to create this project on the Databricks. Okay, so but I have told you the steps, like these are the steps which we can follow, and based on that you can do it. Okay, because we are working on the free version, so here even running a single code will take too much of time, right? And that we have seen also. Okay, just follow these steps and easily you'll be able to create it, guys. Okay, so how was it? Any doubts, any issues?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Arihant. We are open for questions now. If you have any questions, please, you can drop in the chat or you can raise your hand. I don't
So
see questions.
these kind of tools which are these are the tools which we do in our boot camps, right? So where we talk about the cloud platforms also, we talk about the Databricks also, we talked about these different ways, right? So this is one of the way. If you guys have got the chance to attend our last workshop, last masterclass, that was on the AWS. So in case you did not get the chance to attend the live masterclass, then I think those are available on the YouTube also. Maybe Chanda can help in that part. So there we use the same data set which we have used here, but that we deployed on the AWS. Okay, so you can go through that, right? And you can compare like how we were doing over there and how we are doing over here, right? So these kind of real-time projects we do in our classes also, guys, right? In the boot camps.
Yes, Arihant. We have a question from Subramaniam.
Mm-hmm. I
Can
can't
we?
see the question. I can't see the question. I think I do not have the access to see the questions. Okay,
So,
so here, okay.
yes, in the Q&A.
So certificate will be providing or not. Can we get the sequence of steps which will be easy while performing step-by-step actions? I will be, the data is already pre-processed. Can we get the sequence of steps? So Subramanian, these are the sequence of steps which I was showing you on the this one. Uh, these are the sequence of steps, right? So firstly, what we have done, we have taken a CSV file, right? So we have created a table out of it, right? So how we are going to create the table? So just go here, right? So go to the catalog, right? In the catalog, go to the workspace in the default, right? So here you will see the tables, right? So here you can upload this, right? So if you will click on the create, right? So from here you can create a table, right? So here you can create this housing data set, this housing price data set. So when you click on the table here, right? So you can create a new table here. So once this is done, in the companies, generally this data is connected with the database, right? So directly you can import it, but here this is how we are doing it. Screen is already shared. Okay, screen is not shared. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, okay, sorry. Okay, so what I was saying, so these are the steps which I was talking about. Okay, so CSV file is there and we are importing in the Databricks, right? And then we are creating a table out of it. Okay, how we are creating the table? So go to the catalog. So if you want to create a Jupyter notebook, so Jupyter notebook we are creating through the workspace, right? In the workspace, go to this, right? Go to the users, right? If you want to create a shared, either shared or this one, right? So it's up to us. So create notebook, right? So this is how we are creating the notebook. But if you want to create a table, right? So firstly, you have to import the file here, right? So how you can import? So go to the catalog, right? In the catalog, you will see here my organization, right? So here you can see some sample data sets are also there, right? So these are the databases, different databases, right? So if you want to do the experiments on that, these are the sample databases. Okay, so but if I want to create my own, so go to the my organization, go to the workspace, go to the default, inside the tables, right? So you will see this housing price which I have imported, right? So from here you can create it, right? So just click on create and you can select it, right? So just import it basically from here, right? It's straightforward from here. Okay. Yeah. Any other question, guys? Is this making sense, Subramanian? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Aryan. And yes, we will be sharing the masterclass recording as well. I've shared all the links, accesses in the chat. We'll keep you posted when the recording is live. And yes, we will have more seminar master classes similar to this. We will have at least 2 master classes every month. So we will also keep you posted on upcoming master classes.
So I
Any
think
more?
Alice has one question. And is Databricks also used for LLMs workflows? Yes, definitely it is used for the workflows. But generally, I'll tell you for workflows, many companies they are using the N8N, right? Because there you do not need the coding experience. Or if you want to create the workflows, right? So then I would suggest go for the land graph. Okay, but yeah, coming to your question, is it achievable in the Databricks? Definitely it is achievable, right? So there are some LLMs which are pre-installed, which we can use here. Okay.
Unable
Yeah.
to join WhatsApp community.
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes. So if you have any doubt, we can discuss. Okay. Any other question, guys? Any other doubt? Any other questions?
If you are unable to access WhatsApp community, we have your registered email addresses. So we will also share all the details to your emails. You can join our WhatsApp community there. Any more questions, guys? We have 5 more minutes. Can we have a question, Aryan?
Yeah, I'll check that. How do you use how do you use the LLM workflows in Databricks? I have used LangGraph before, but want to know how to use the Databricks for this. Okay, then I think we can have a separate dedicated session for that. So where I can show you entire process of creating it. Okay, so Sid, so will that make sense? Right. So this one. Can we plot loss graphs or can we connect to WAN-DB? Okay. So when we talk about the loss graphs, right? So that again, like confusion matrix is there, like right, so like this one is there. So definitely it can be done, right? So if you do the experiments tracking here, right? So let's suppose this one. Now, let's suppose we have chosen the linear regression here. Now here you will see artifacts. Okay, so one is artifacts, right? So here you will see different files are there for this model, right? So ML model, right? So here you can do the uh, here you can generate all those things, the loss graph or anything, right? So model.pkl, this is the YAML file, right? So which are the dependencies which have been downloaded, requirements.txt, right? Which are the versions of the uh, files which we have used, right? So serving input example, right? So this is like a one of the example. Okay, so here, so these are the input variables, right? So these are the different performance metrics, okay, so which we used. So here itself you can add those charts also, Subramanya. Okay, so this is the first part. Another part is where you can see the output, right? So here itself you can see the confusion matrix also, right? If you want to see, this is the first part. Another part is like while creating the file itself, right? While creating the file itself, file in the sense in the workspace, right? So this one, right? So here itself also you can create the charts, right? Using that loss graph. So ultimately we want to see the loss, right? So easily we can see it here using the matplotlib or Seaborn, right? So whichever the library we are using. So that is how we can do it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Arjun, for that insightful session. And thank you all for joining us today. And we hope this session gave you valuable insights into Databricks. If you still have any questions, please feel free to contact with us with the share the details in the chat. Also stay connected with AgileFever for more master classes. Once again, thank you for joining all. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending the session. Bye bye. Have a good day.